read me.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Prepared Mind channel, the channel for preppers, America firsters, patriots, and vets, and it is Veterans Day, folks. It is November 11th, Veterans Day, and in the United States, it's a national holiday. Veterans Day was created to honor veterans of the armed forces and to honor those who have been killed in defense of the country and while fighting wars for this nation. It was originally observed in 1919 on the first anniversary of World War I ending, and it was known back then as Armistice Day. Happy Veterans Day to all veterans. And we're supposed to remember that veterans risk their lives. They have risked their lives in the past. They're willing to risk their lives now, active duty, and then, of course, to honor those who have passed, who have fought against evil, who have fought against oppression, who have fought against tyrants, who have done their best to be patriots, and they gave the ultimate sacrifice. I was a Marine. And Veterans Day, the older I get, the harder it gets, believe it or not. Because the more I know, the more I realize Americans, and indeed even our allies that fight for the right reasons for their nations, they've died, I will never say in vain, but I think a lot of them have been killed or injured and served. We all served while serving a master we didn't quite fully understand. All right, we served in the military out of respect for our country and out of love for our people and our culture, our traditions, and our laws. And the government may have had us fighting for reasons that they weren't honest about, that the fighting was done to serve a political purpose and not to protect Americans or to protect your countrymen, but had us fighting to make political points or to satisfy some political donor or to make some corporation rich or to increase the power of the government. But it is veterans that do the heavy lifting with the intent, I have to add and keep adding, that we are commissioned and we are enlisted to serve our nation and the people, not for the benefit of government for government's sake. In any event, through all of that, the Marines I've known that have died, been injured, have PTSD, or fucked up for life, soldiers, Navy, friends, family, loved ones, people I grew up with, it hurts. And Veterans Day is something that I now hold very sacred at my age. And it was a number of years ago. I think it was probably 2017 that I had a coworker came back from Afghanistan, a Marine, and he had a hard time. He was an enlisted man, and he was on patrol in a series of Humvees and MRAPs, and one of his squad was completely blown to fucking pieces and blown to pieces in front of him. And It was kind of my job to help patch that kid back together and help him feel good. And that just, the older you get, the more you realize what this country was created for, why it was created, and why it's defended by us. And then we have these politicians that just shit on it all. And that leads me to the next thing I want to talk about. I want to talk about President Trump, folks. He gave a warm welcome to the White House, President Trump did, of the interim leader of Syria. This guy was brought to the White House, but he was designated as a terrorist, a Muslim terrorist. And Trump says that, well, he had a rough past, but we all have rough pasts. Yeah, on Veterans Day, folks, a day that is created to honor those who serve, have served, and those who have fallen in the U.S. military while protecting this nation and the people. This man that was honored by President Trump in the White House is responsible for killing tens of thousands of civilians and Christians. He was responsible for beheadings and killings of children, and also responsible for killing our United States military men. And this scumbag is honored with a visit to our White House to meet and shake hands and glad hand and fucking smile and pose for pictures, open arms with Trump. What the fuck is going on is what I want to know. Uman writes, 1 year ago, he had a $10 million bounty on his head. That's right, the interim, temporary, whatever leader of Syria, who has been placed in that position. Millions of dollars was being offered for his death. And this year, he's a good guy. I'm sure there is some humorous, satirical fucking slant on there. Oh, here it is. Here's the quote. What a difference a year makes. What has he done? Has he created peace? Harmony? Has he opened up all of the treasuries of Syria and built churches and hospitals and schools? Is he taking care of old people? Is he building houses for the poor? What's he doing to deserve this honor? It is Veterans Day, folks. This is now the United States of America. This is what is supposed to pass for a country, a nation, a government. It is no longer for me about Republicans and Democrats. It is no longer for me about Israel and Muslims. I don't like any of them. I am about America and America first. I don't give a fuck about the Middle East. I don't give a fuck about these political parties. All I care about now is my people and preserving what little of our republic we have left and being ready to just fucking absolutely fight for our nation. And I think that's what all patriotic, truly patriotic veterans should be here for. Now I'm going to visit you with a story about our military and some actions it's taking right now. And you can answer for yourself, good or bad, proper or improper, justified or unjustified. I will share with you, of course, my opinion. I'm not just going to throw it out there and make people twist in the fucking wind. The USS Gerald Ford naval vessel, folks, and the strike group that travels with it have now arrived in the Caribbean to basically, what are they doing? What would I think I would say this is policing the Caribbean offshore from Venezuela. Now, the communist dictator piece of shit of Venezuela, who Trump says is the leader of a drug cartel, the entire nation. Maduro is making a plea to other Latin American countries to, quote, unite for peace in his desperation to get out of trouble here. Well, he wouldn't be in trouble, I would think, if he wasn't running drugs into other countries. So I guess nations in Latin America, which means Central and South America, probably includes Mexico as well, right? Any nations that are run by drug cartels that kill their customers and their enemies with drugs, I guess they could probably join this United Drug Dealers Peace Plan with Maduro, but I don't think many will. I still don't know why we're not bombing and killing drug cartels, the Sinaloa cartel in Mexico, especially now that we've learned that they are literally sanctioning and blessing Shine Bomb. Right? Nations that are run by drug cartels kill their customers with drugs, folks. And probably a very, very large percentage of them are poor, and they're also minorities, which includes Hispanics and blacks in the Caribbean islands, in the United States of America. I bet that our minorities and our poor are a big percentage of the victims of these drugs, victims of having lives ruined, families ruined, lives destroyed, and lives lost in death. But right now, Democrats are saying it's wrong to stop a drug war on America. I say this is a drug war against America on the poor who, if they are hurt, injured, they go to hospitals, and that costs us, once again, more money. It is a financial war. It is a population war. It is a drug war. And it is an anti-American war, and it's being really pushed by Venezuela. And I don't like it. I think the right thing to do is blow their fucking drug boats out of the water. Now, I don't think all boats coming out of Venezuela should indiscriminately be blown to fucking pieces. So how do you know which are the drug boats and which aren't? What if someone with a nice, say, 50-foot cabin cruiser yacht from another country, not Venezuela, visits Venezuela, gets their boat loaded up with drugs that you can't see, and it appears like a leisurely yacht just taking a fucking cruise through the Caribbean? Is the U.S. going to blow it to smithereens? In other words, my question is, where are they getting their intel from? Where are they getting their information? How do they know which of these boats is a fishing boat and which is a drug boat? Well, I'm going to tell you what. I've got a little information for you on that as well. Great Britain, England, the United Kingdom, but basically Queer Starmer in England, has told America that they're no longer going to share intelligence with us because of what's being done to Venezuela's drug runners. That's right. We don't want those poor drug runners being blown to fucking pieces by delivering death, literal death and destruction to minorities, blacks, Latinos in the Caribbean islands, in Florida, South Carolina, Georgia, North Carolina, Mississippi, Alabama, Baton Rouge in Louisiana, Texas, or anywhere else. And that's not where the drugs end. They get up through the entire country. Right? But Queer Starmer wants these drug people left alone. What, so they can continue to hurt us? Oh, yes, there we go. Queer Starmer, who continues to lie to his own people, lie to the media, lie to the public, and allow the absolute destruction of England. At some point, when is enough enough? At some point, I've got to ask the question, is it justifiable to physically remove political figures who are destroying our nations? Now, you can take the a patriotic perspective on this and say, And again, this is all just academic. This is not advice. This is not encouragement. This is none of those things. It's academic. Because you could sit here on, let's just say, the very conservative pro-Constitution side and say, yeah, if someone's destroying your country and the people and harming everyone, they need to be removed. And if the government won't remove them, and if you can't remove them by vote, then you've got no choice but to rebel. Now, going into English history and just leaving 1776 out of the equation, the English have removed kings, not elected government officials, folks, literal kings, and eliminated, killed them. It's called regicide, the killing of the king, because the king's job, literally, the king's purpose and job is to look over and protect the people. In other words, a king is supposed to be one of God's representatives. Believe that? That's what the king is, and the queen. God's representatives to protect their people, protect their country, promote the general welfare, to use a quote from American documentation. And when they don't, they can be removed by force with a penalty. I think the same should apply to these motherfucking piece of shit elected officials. And I'm not talking about being violent. I'm just talking about being able to throw them out of office and say, you are no longer going to hold this position. And the government, which works for you and under you and through you, has also failed to remove your dumbass. Those days are going to come. Now, I just made all of that clear from a pro-constitutional, pro-law and order perspective. But on the other hand, you've got these communist, anti-American, anti-Christian piece of shit organizations like Antifa and BLM that, well, they want to kill politicians and remove them and install their version of reality. You see where this is going? Governments are failing us. England, Scotland, Ireland, all of the European continent, Canada, Australia, the United States of America, Mexico. The government is failing. And we look in and see who are the partisans within each country. If we go to war, it won't be a civil war, folks. It'll probably be a partisan war, or it could be just a fucking melee of civil war at the same time we have partisan war, at the same time we try and reestablish our republic, while others are calling for absolute revolution. You want to talk about a free-for-all. And you know what's probably the most interesting thing that comes out of this is ultimately when all the shooting is done, when all the dust is settled, when the trials are over and the elections are held, whoever wins gets to write the history books about who the good guys are and who the bad guys were. Currently, history says World War II, America, England, and Soviet Union were the good guys, and Germany was the bad guys. That was World War II. But just a couple years later, all of a sudden, the Soviets are bad guys. But just a few years ago, they were our allies. They were good guys. We're all buddies. You see, it's who at what point in time gets to make the rules, who gets to set the norm, who gets to make the call. Well, I tell you what, it's going to be an ugly picture. Get your comments down below. Get your thoughts down below. Get your predictions down below. Happy Veterans Day, everybody. And America is under siege right now. We're under siege. Did we or did we not? No, let me rephrase that. Did Trump or did Trump not declare Antifa a terror group, a terror organization? I'm pretty sure I remember them saying Antifa is a terrorist group. Was that done to silence us? To make us feel good after they shot Charlie Kirk and assassinated him? I don't believe that was an Antifa death. I believe that the LGBTQ pedophile was a patsy, and that his death was ordered by higher powers. Doesn't matter who did it, folks. It was done. And then we were told it's Antifa. And then we were told Antifa is a terror group. And now we're all supposed to feel all warm and fucking fuzzy. While not one Antifa group has been rounded up, not one Antifa group has been arrested and put on mass trial. These are fucking terrorists. Remember, they're supposed to be terrorists. They don't get a civilian trial. They're enemy combatants operating within our country as domestic terrorists, a domestic enemy. It's right there in the Constitution. It's right there in the oath to this country. When you serve as an elected official, as a member of the military, you swear to defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And if Antifa is a communist organization, which it is, and if it is a terrorist organization, which has been denoted as, they should be fucking arrested and not allowed to stand there and spit in the faces of Americans, as well as threaten and push and assault police, Americans, and everyone else. UC Berkeley, just yesterday. Antifa was there. They were treated like innocent protesters as they violently attacked people. One guy in particular was a Christian who had his cross yanked off his neck by a guy who appeared to be a Muhammad Ahmed Aloha snack bar type guy, who then got in a fight with him, and he was arrested and manhandled by the police while it appeared to me, gently pick up the poor Muslim guy and arrest him as well. It looked a lot like 2020 with fucking explosives, fireworks, fires, chaos. And CBS, I guess a local CBS affiliate there in UC Berkeley, where this Antifa action took place. UC Berkeley is Oakland, by the way, folks. Oakland. Berkeley is right there with fucking Oakland. Right? That was the birthplace of my free speech, man. Well, what are they protesting? A TPUSA event. Turning Point USA. Charlie Kirk's old organization before it got taken over by a bunch of fucking pro-Israeli scum. Now, CBS says it was mostly peaceful. They went right back to the fucking playbook. Covering for someone in a terrorist organization which the Republicans have named but refused to arrest and prosecute. In other words, they want us to fight on the streets, folks. They want the violence. Well, this old fucking vet has had enough of this shit, and I'm just waiting and watching. Because when it happens, and I keep saying, and I've said for years, when it happens, you will know. When it's time, you will know. Whatever that action is that's required, whatever the time is that you think is coming, you'll know. Chicago, folks, we're under siege in America. Chicago gangs now have a shoot on sight, gangland style order. It's the hit on all of ICE, not just one officer. Yet, what do we see from Mr. Trump? No action. If we want to save our country, we need National Guard, military intervention to go and arrest all these Antifa fucks to restore order, or there will be massive blood in the streets. Is that what Trump wants? Because that's what we're going to get. He's got 3 more years in office. Hell, better than 3 years. 3 years and 2 fucking months. 3 years and 2.5 months. Checking my date. 3 years, 2 months, and 1 week. This is where we're at. And what is he doing? He's inviting fucking terrorists that murdered tens of thousands of people, including our servicemen, on Veterans Day into the fucking White House. Wow. And what does our greatest ally say? Well, Mark Levin, says America imported its ideas from, quote, the ancient Hebrews. In America, it's different than Europe due to its, quote, Judeo-Christian belief system and the history and the Enlightenment. Israel's losing support in the United States of America because of this type of crap. Claiming America is Jewish, claiming it's Judeo-Christian, it's not. It's deist. It believes in a God, and it adopted the 10 Commandments, which are basically don't do bad things. Americans are done, I think, with all of this shit, this made-up bullshit. And I'm not putting my belief system on top of America. What I'm saying is I'm looking and I'm listening and I'm gauging what's being thought of out there. And I know that I bring, when I go and read something or listen or look, I bring my ideas, my conclusions and beliefs. And of course, I have a bias. I am looking for other people and groups and areas and situations where people are sharing the same thoughts I am. And it's no longer just the radical preppers or just the militant veterans or just the disgruntled fucking white people. I'm looking and trying to look at the whole spectrum. So anyone that wants to say you preppers are stupid, sure, keep believing that. Well, I can just ask this question, right? If you knew in 1999 where Amazon's stock price would be today, what is it, 19,000% higher? If you knew where to be 25 years ago, wouldn't you be there and benefit from it? Well, as a prepper, you're not going to benefit by becoming fucking rich, but you're going to benefit by not being in the sad fucking condition of the rest of the world. If you do not have food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, any means of self-defense, if you don't have some sort of power, if you don't have some form of communications, if you don't have some form of plan, right? That's what preppers have noted, is that shit's going bad and you're investing your time, some money, and some thought into being prepared so you fucking understand what's happening. If I only knew, I would have invested in Amazon or Apple or Microsoft or Cisco or whatever the fuck, or Palantir or Nvidia. How do you know back when it's nothing? Well, unless you're in the system and paying attention. That's what preppers, I think, have done. That's what I think veterans and patriots have done, is look around and go, this ain't right. One of the rule books for making those determinations is right here. U.S. Constitution. There's your guidebook. Further we get away from this, the more you are going to realize that being a prepper is a good thing. And waking up others is a very good thing, even though it comes at a personal cost. People don't appreciate you telling them that the country's fucked up. They want to stay asleep and believe everything's just fine. Everything's just fine. No worries. No worries, eh? Everything's great, eh? No. People need to wake the fuck up. And if you help them, good for you. If you try and help them and they refuse, good for you. As long as you're prepared also. But fix your house. You can't fix the street if you can't fix your own household. Fix your street. Know who is good, who is bad. Your neighborhood, your community. It's good to know these things. The 10-mile radius around you. What resources are in it? Water, food, defense. Who are your enemies? Are they in that zone? How many? What type are they? Understand it. Understand. But right now, I want to understand what you guys are thinking. Let's go to you, the inner circle, and ask some questions. Timed that pretty good. We're at the top of the hour. We got about half an hour to go. I got a lot of topics, but you guys, what's on your mind? Mr. Ooman, do you have something that we want to talk about? And there it is. Mr. Diving Frog checks in. He said, John, as a Marine, this shit Trump did by honoring this man is a slap in our faces, and all those laying in Arlington. Meet the new boss, same as the old boss. Arlington National Cemetery, folks, is where our nation's heroes have been laid to rest, and in some cases, their families, I believe. Right. We have the beaches of Normandy and the vast cemeteries there of all of the Christians who died. Right. For everyone that's buried, there's a white cross there. Those are Christian graves. People that believe in freedom and liberty, the golden rule, being good. And when that good is threatened, you go fight the evil. And that's what's there. And yeah, it's not just a slap in the face to me, though, Mr. Diving Frog. I think to all of us, it's a punch in the gut. It's spitting on those graves. It's pissing on the graves of not just American veterans, but veterans around the world. When there is a pseudo-religious political institution that has amongst its tenets, beliefs, dogma, to kill everybody that disagrees with them on their political and religious fundamental thoughts, you don't ever honor them. You certainly don't honor them on a day. You should be honoring people that are good and decent. Trump is appearing to be the new boss, same as the old boss, who was just like the new boss and the old boss. Yeah, I know the phrase, and it feels that way. I don't believe this is 5D chess or 55D chess. I think this is just a bunch of fucking sellout bullshit. Now, years ago, when Trump first ran for president back in 2016, I looked into his donors. And I looked at the donors of Hillary Clinton, Republican versus Democrat Party, and I discovered that there were a lot of Jews on both sides donating a lot of money to our politicians. And at the time, I thought, okay, there must be, good Jews, bad Jews. Because how the fuck can you support anti-freedom bullshit from the Democrats? Well, I guess lesson learned. And it's the rich man's trick, which is when you go to war, if you're rich, you support both sides. You support both sides. So that when the war is finally done, whoever wins will look on you favorably and allow you to keep your wealth and your life and your property. And you can, again, start at the top, if you will, with government favor and probably be financially rewarded for your great support and contributions. And I think that's what we have with Trump, is we have people that are supporting both sides so that no matter what happens, they get taken care of. And I think that's what a lot of people are noticing now with banks, with corporations, with religious groups. They get rewarded. Now, my guess for this scumbag from Syria who gets to glad hand and shake I'm going to guess that guy is going to do as he's told. Right? The game is played from above and it gets played from below. I'm sure Trump is being played. In fact, I fucking guarantee it. I'm sure little Miss Miriam is gotten her money's worth out of Trump. But Trump is going to play the same game with this guy. It's like, hey, we invited you to the United States, gave you a nice suit. You get to get cleaned up. We got to call you a good guy. You are now going to do as you're told. And a lot of people believe that this guy in charge of Syria is a Mossad plant. In other words, they're playing both sides. This leader of Syria as a terrorist plays both sides. Israel plays both sides. Trump is going to play both sides. The people funding Trump and the Republicans, Democrats, they all play both sides. So it doesn't matter who wins. They are always the winner as well. But you and I are on the other side of the fence. We're not in that club. As a consequence, all we see is the fucking tax bill. All right, let's move on. Thank you, Diving Frog. Mr. Uman, let's get into some questions and comments. Heidi says, I remember when Nixon got chummy with China after Vietnam. I was shocked. Of course, I was 17 years old. Yep, Nixon pulled out. They abandoned everyone in Saigon. Tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions of people were slaughtered mercilessly by the communists as they poured into Central and South Vietnam and filled the void of power. And yeah, Nixon opened up China with the help of George H.W. Bush. And look where China is today. They are a major world nuclear power. Under Clinton and his administration, the U.S. government, which includes Republicans, opened up our borders and allowed corporations to flee to China for cheap labor, cheap raw materials, and fucked our country up. Deprived America of jobs, wealth, manufacturing prowess, and productivity, and prestige. Yeah, we're now seeing the consequences of that, are we not? Don't worry, the rich people got their money, Heidi. They got their money. What did you get? What did we all get? Well, the government continued to promise the world. Well, right now we got $38 trillion. $1 trillion of that, I believe, was given away by the federal government during the COVID lockdown. This is all being revealed, but trust me, the Department of Justice, the Attorney General's office will not prosecute anyone for any of this theft, nor will they recover any of the fucking money. But don't worry, Trump wants to give people $2,000. That's shh. Shut the fuck up. Shh. I'm Santa Claus. And we're just supposed to shut up and forget about it? Well, they played this fucking game once already. I got $1,700 for COVID. At the end of the year, I got a $1,700 tax bill from the government saying, give us our money back. And I know lots of people that had that same experience. So I'm very suspicious of this $2,000 stimulus check. It's supposed to come from collected tariff money. But it's going to be means tested. Apparently, if you make more than $75,000 as a single person, you'll get it. If you make more than that, I don't know if it's going to be prorated and shrink you down, kind of like a progressive income tax. And if you're married, I guess there's going to probably be a limit. I wonder if there's going to be a child. If you've got dependent children, will you get more back? Or will you just have less taken away? A lot of people believe that Trump is going to try and reward people for having children. Don't worry about the mass media. They're already over this, and they're saying it is an insidious concept or idea to reward white people for having children. Insidious. Turning it into a racist subject. Unfucking believable, folks. The media needs to be dismantled. Anyone with a special license should be dismantled, right? You're supposed to serve the public as a member of the media, not being a private commentator or something different. But the broadcast media, ABC, NBC, right? These broadcast companies are using federal airwaves. Shouldn't there be rules? Well, I'm sure the federal government could claim control over the internet, but they won't. You know who they're going to give the control to? Oh, yes. Yeah. Israel. They took TikTok from China and they gave it to their buddies in Israel. Literally. And see, look, if it wasn't so fucking obvious, I wouldn't pay attention. It is in our faces obvious. And this started years and years and years ago. I mean, decades ago, people were saying, why is it that Israeli/Jewish types seem to own the media? The newspapers, magazines, fucking satellite TV, broadcast, local stations, everything. And back then it was not as big a deal, but now it's like 5 or 6 families own 95% of all media. And they're Jewish. That's weird, is it not? Or is it part of a greater plan? A plan of control. Propaganda. Yes, propaganda. I've got a lot to say on that. But before I say anything more or take any more questions, and thank you, Heidi, I want to remind everyone that on her hands and knees, a white woman crawled across the floor on her hands and knees, crawled on her hands and knees across her floor in front of a crowd and went over and kissed the feet of Jasmine Crockett, the eyelash hoe. Right, this girl's name that crawled on her hands and knees as an example to Americans to kiss the feet of a black representative in government. Her name was Stephanie Miller, a liberal radio host, right? It was an act of pure self-hatred, pure anti-Americanism, and pure submission. That's what they want us to do, folks. We need to be on our hands and knees and crawl and kiss the feet of our elected politicians who work for handouts from other nations and corporations and banks. We need to just accept our position. We need to own nothing and be happy. Oh, yeah. All right, man, let's roll with it, man. We got some more comments. As Mikey G says, Joe Biden's first filibuster was to deny funding for rearming, resupplying South Vietnam, ensuring their defeat. So, well, that would have been when Joe Biden, didn't he start as a congressman before he became a senator? Very interesting history. I appreciate that, Mikey G. Yeah, Joe Biden. You want to know who voted to start taxing Social Security benefits? Joe Biden. I think he brought out, he proposed that legislation. Okay. My sister, she says that there's no volume on the video. Perhaps you just need to turn it up on your computer. All right, let's continue if we shall. Oh, that's funny. Okay, Uman, who's next? Christopher Hole, CJ Flex checking in. He says, how long before the dollar is finished? Christopher, my friend, the dollar is a dead dollar walking. It is already dead. Since 1913, the purchasing power of the thing called the U.S. dollar is lost. It depends on what product you compare it against. So I think gold has lost 99%, 99 plus, because it was, well, $20 gold piece. And then it got revalued to 33 and then to 41. I think it's 42.22222 currently. The dollar's finished. It's done. It's done as the world reserve currency. It is weaker and weaker by the day because it purchases less and less by the day because of inflation. And when the private banking cartel, the Federal Reserve, is in charge of controlling inflation, they're supposed to benefit us in making sure we keep high employment, right? The sanctity of the dollar, supposed to be for the benefit of me and you, the people. Nope. They've set a standard. Well, we'd like 2% inflation. 2% inflation every year is what they want. What have you seen? Right? We've seen fuel, food, real estate, automobiles, taxes. The dollar goes less far all the time. So, compared to 1913, we've lost 99% of our dollar. It's pretty dead. But if you take the dollar today and say, okay, this is what the dollar buys, how much longer until that's ruined? Well, if we have another 10% inflation this year, you just lost another 10% of what is left of the original 100%, right? We're done. It's already finished. China, Russia, in fact, the BRICS Union and other affiliated companies, corporations, and countries, I hit all the C's there, Mr. CJ Flex. They've developed, while everyone else was asleep, they have developed a cross-border payment system using their local currencies, but backed by gold. They're going to revalue the gold at some point, whether it's America does it or China does it. Look, if China came out and said, hey, world, we're going to give you $10,000 per ounce of gold, the fucking world would sell their gold to China for the profit or the delta, the difference between the current $4,150 price and that $10,000. The United States could claim that $10,000 gold. And people would be like, sold, right? There it is. Uman says, silver and gold continue to march forward. Yes, they do. Gold is money. Silver is money. In fact, the word silver in other languages and cultures literally translates to money. Silver is money, but it's not used as money. It is consumed and disposed of now as an industrial metal. But it's now on the critical minerals list with the United States, and several countries followed, including, I believe, Canada. But here's the scoop. Other countries don't want the US dollar anymore, CJ. It's toast. They're slowly, carefully, methodically getting rid of their T-bills, their T-bonds, right? Their treasury notes from the United States government. If they all dumped them all at once, it's like dumping stock on the market all at once. It drops so fast, you don't get anything of value out of them. So they're slowly spending those dollars, those treasury bills, those treasury notes, those United States government promises. They're slowly getting them. They'll give them back to the U.S. to pay for goods. Whatever the U.S. makes. Food. Right? And they'll take that, but what are they doing? They're not buying more bonds, more stocks, if you will. Our treasury bills, treasury bonds are stock or a certificate of value of the United States of America. No one wants it anymore. Okay, we've got a problem. Russia just announced that they're not exporting any gold anymore. They're not selling it into the market, I believe. There's going to be more gold shortages coming up very soon. China doesn't sell gold and allow it to leave China. They are doing government repayment in gold as promised through their new system. But you can't just go in and buy Chinese gold. You see, it's being slowly taken off the market, which means it has a value that is inestimable at this point because we don't know what they're going to value it at ultimately and use that as a trade standard. The United States is playing some kind of game where they're trying to monetize the value of corporations through stable coins, which companies create and people buy, and that is going to back the dollar. This sounds like a fucking derivative of a derivative of a derivative. It sounds like buying gold paper stocks right now from the COMEX where, well, you buy a certificate saying you're entitled to a 100-ounce gold bar, but there's another 200 or 300 people that have that same piece of paper for that same gold bar. It's like musical fucking chairs. The music stops. There's 100 people there and only one fucking chair. Who do you think is going to get the gold? Now that gold is gone. The dollar's gone. You had best be prepared mentally for what's going on. Silver, by the way, is far more scarce. Turns out there are many accusing the Silver Institute of lying about the consumption of silver, and that reserves around the world are gone. Yet silver is more valuable than ever in industrial, military, and energy purposes. Well, for Veterans Day, how about that? 1 ounce of silver right there. $50 today? Could be $500 next year. Who the fuck knows? But no matter what they do on Wall Street, no matter what they do in Washington, D.C., that will always be 1 ounce of gold. Now, Diving Frog says, John, a bag of shit is worth more than $1. At least I can grow something with crap, but I can't do anything with $1 that ain't worth shit. Well, I'm going to respectfully disagree with you, Diving Frog. You can crumple up all those dollars and stuff them in a wall cavity and use them as insulation. You could do like the Germans did in the 1920s during the Weimar Republic, and people wallpapered their homes with worthless Reichsmarks. They would take a wheelbarrow of cash, literally, to go buy a loaf of bread. It's because they had hyperinflation. The value of the dollar is absolutely fucking destroyed. I'm sorry, the value of the Reichsmark. We have seen the loss of value of our dollar. As discussed, we've lost, let's just say 99%. That means it's 100 to 1. So instead of $1 for a cup of coffee in some time in the past, it takes $100. What if it takes $1,000 to buy a cup of coffee, which should only be $1? Right now we're at $100. It could go to 1,000. It could go to 10,000. How do you and I stop it? You can't. Government, give us more money. That'll solve it. Modern monetary theory says you can print all you want and everything's just fine. I got a bridge to sell you. I got a tunnel to Hawaii to sell you. All right. Thank you, Diving Frog. Mr. Uman, who's up next? We've got C checking in. It says, John, you can't walk around Venezuela without bumping into a U.S. asset. Don't ask me how I know. By U.S. asset, you mean a spy? You mean an agent? You mean a spook? I don't doubt it for a fucking second. And I won't ask you how you know. I'll just agree with you. I'm sure of it. I think that statement is made in response to my, how do they know what boats have drugs on them and which are fishing boats? And how would they know if, say, a cruising yacht or a pleasure sailboat that's going to go on a vacation through the Caribbean doesn't get loaded up with drugs? Because there are U.S. assets everywhere. You bet your ass there are. Thank you, C, very much. I'm not going to ask how you know. I just happen to know, or I should say believe. In any event, who's next, Mr. Uman? We've got Mikey G. Says, giant solar storm going to hit tomorrow. Not again. We've had 50 solar storms that are supposed to wipe us out. Not to mention the Atlas asteroid spaceship is coming to kill us all. Yeah, I'm not making fun of you, Mikey. I just know that we get this all the time. In fact, I think Uman sent me something from Dabu 7. Oh wait, that was the asteroid. I mean, since I've been on here, folks, I've been listening to, and I understand and know there are internet personalities in Dabu 7. Right? He's always been there and been amusing. He's always warning us about these things. And look, folks, weather control is real. 3D atmospheric holograms, Project Bluebeam, UFOs, asteroids, solar storms. That can all be real or it can all be manufactured for the government's, shall we say, purpose. All right, I'll be on the lookout for the solar storm tomorrow. It's cold down in Florida, folks. I actually had to wear some PJ pants walking around the house this morning as I staved off a nice big fat headache. Mr. Uman, do we have another one out there before we end the show? I've got more stuff to cover, but I want to make sure I talk to you guys. It's Robin G. Robin, a great supporter of the channel, by the way. Didn't hear from you on Sunday Night Live, did we? Not this week. Anyways, it's always good to hear from you, and I'm glad you're back. I thought maybe you got disappeared, but you're here. And you said, dang it, I should have bought more gold. Let's just finish up on this, because I think it's a really good way for people who don't want to go buy a year's worth of food, for people who don't believe they need guns to protect themselves, that their neighbors will do it. The VFW down the street will protect them. The local police, they're the good guys. You live in a conservative area. You don't need to do all that shit. Someone's a chicken farmer down the fucking street and you got a community garden. You don't need to worry about any of this stuff. Fine. But if you leave your money in a bank, who owns that fucking bank? Well, even if it's a credit union. Credit union takes its deposits, which is an unsecured loan from you, and they send those to the money market. They send those to Wall Street. They invest it, trying to get a return, because banks have bills too. See, bank gives you a loan for, say, $50,000 for buying a car. Well, that bank just created cash out of thin air, literally. That's the fractional part of the fractional reserve system. They just created $50,000 that they now have to pay back to the Federal Reserve. So if that car loan doesn't get paid to your local bank, then they can't make their payments to the Federal Reserve. They get in trouble. That bank can collapse. All banks can collapse. Buying gold and buying silver is important. Now, gold, silver. Gold used to be valued to silver 20 to 1, right? 20 ounces of silver, 1 ounce of gold. It was mined at anywhere from 10 to 1 or 16 to 1 in all times historic. And there's kind of a premium put on silver because it's bulky and it's a lot more work to make those coins. So, to make the difference up, even though it was mined 10 to 1, 12 to 1, 16 to 1, they valued it at 20 to 1 for a lot of history. Currently, silver is being mined. Well, when I first started looking at silver heavily after my wonderful divorce, it was being mined 8 or 9 to 1. The mining ratio has dropped considerably from that 16 to 12 to 10 to 9 and 8, and now it's down to 7 to 1. That silver comes out of the ground. For every 1 ounce of gold, you only get 7 ounces of silver on the planet, whether it's in a gold mine, a silver mine, a copper mine, a lead mine, a zinc mine. They get little bits of silver. But when you add up all that's produced, it's not very much. And it's going down and continuing to go down and go down and go down. Additionally, the gold and silver per ton of ore that is dug up out of the ground, crushed, chemically treated to extract the precious metals, the number of grams per ton for gold has gone from 15 to 10 to 8 to 5 to 3, somewhere down around 2 now. 2 grams of gold, and there's 32 grams of gold in a troy ounce. So that's why gold is so valuable, right? That's why, and it's just going to get worse. It's just going to go higher. You should have bought more gold. All of us should have bought more gold. All of us should have bought more silver, but we've been too busy paying our taxes, trying to invest in places where we were told we were going to get a great return on investment. But if inflation is 10%, your dollar loses 2%, 3%, 5%, 10%, but you only made 5 or 6% on the stock market. Did your money actually grow, or did you fucking lose? You actually lost value on your money if you only made 5 or 6 or even 8%. People think, I'm killing it, man. I got 8% last year. 8 fucking percent, right? My house mortgage is only 4%. Hell, I made 8%. That's a winner. Yeah, well, your dollar lost 10 fucking percent. Guess what investment has beaten the Dow, has beaten the S&P, right? S&P 500. We'll just stick with the S&P for the last 25 years. Guess what investment has beaten that? Well, it's not an investment. It's gold. The value of gold has beaten the S&P by going up in value more than investing in corporations. In other words, the value loss to the dollar is more punitive than our gross domestic product, right? Crazy business. One last item, and I know I've gone a little bit long here on this Veterans Day, and I want to say Semper Fi to all veterans, all branches of service, period. Right now, Robin, silver is valued to gold approximately 82 to 1. After today, it may be 81 to 1. The mining ratio, it's 81 to 1. Thank you, Uman. It's 81 to 1 after today. Gold or silver had another good day. But it should be what? The mining ratio is 7 to 1. What's that put the value of silver at? Let's see. 8 into 80 is 10. It should be 10 times. It should be $500 an ounce if we drop to the mining ratio. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen. I'm just saying the value of reality versus the value of bullshit. I'm going to ask you this question. Look at the governments of the world. Look at the banks of the world. Look at our enemies. Look at people that claim to be our allies. Do you trust them and your money? Do you trust them with your life? Or do you think you should be an America First prepper? Folks, chance favors. The prepared mind is yours. God bless America. Happy Veterans Day, and I'll see all of you tomorrow.